All right, I'm called over to the town board meeting at the Richard Young Fire Station on Monday, January 25th, 2021 at 6:34 PM. Roll call, please.
Chairman Osterman,
Here.
Supervisor Braham.
Here.
Supervisor Beal. Here. Supervisor Moonen.
Here.
Supervisor Plotecker. Here.
All right, we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, item 3 is the fire department promotion ceremony. Chief Drager.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Tonight, the ceremony is for swearing in 3 of our members to full member status. So I have a little bit that I'm going to say about the process itself, and then Chairman Osterman will be swearing them in. They each have a family member that's going to come up and pin their badge on them, and then we will have some cupcakes. They normally have cake and ice cream, but we have some cupcakes that we can have, and then we'll probably sneak out so they can still have a little bit of a celebration with their family members that they brought here tonight. So I'd like to bring up Mariah Bear, Jeffrey Mason, and Kate Novacek. So the Lisbon Fire Department strives to provide a high quality of emergency service by relying heavily on the skills and commitment of its members. The most valuable resource the department deploys is the individuals who make up the membership. All those who graduate to full member status must understand that they are placing themselves in a very special situation. They are responsible to deliver emergency service to the Lisbon citizens. The fire department personnel are the only and often the final line of aid that people can call upon. As full members of this organization, you are promising that you are aware of the seriousness of this vocation and are willing to commit to the challenge of being prepared for the days you'll be called upon to perform your duties. The members here tonight have taken on the challenge and completed the necessary requirements to graduate to full member status. This includes earning 2 state certifications in the fire and EMS service, completing the required in-house training, and successfully finishing the written and practical Lisbon Fire Department probationary test. This probationary swearing-in ceremony is a rite of passage and is a significant milestone in your firefighting EMS career and your public service to the town of Lisbon. So, you need this?
You guys want to go individually or all together? Guys and girls? All together? All right, raise your right hand. I state your name. All right, now you can all go together. Having been appointed to the position of firefighter EMT with the Town of Lisbon Fire Department, swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, that I will obey the ordinances of the Town of Lisbon and County of Waukesha and the rules and regulations of the Town of Lisbon and County of Waukesha and the rules and regulations of the Town of Lisbon Fire Department, that I will obey all the lawful orders of my superior officers and will faithfully discharge the duties of my position to the best of my ability. So help me God. Congratulations. Congratulations.
I know. There's chocolate, peanut butter, and then there's toasted almonds. We'll take these out too for, we'll either go upstairs or out in the bin.
There's no audio coming through?
There's no audio coming through?
Right.
It's better now, sorry.
Thank you. Good to go. All right. Item 4 is comments from citizens present. Is there any, would you like to make any comments tonight? Dan, anything? Right. Item 5 is the consent agenda. Items listed under the consent agenda are considered in one motion unless a town board member requests that an item be removed from the consent agenda. We've got the January 11th, 2021 town board minutes and the 2021 Lisbon Community Winterfest sleigh ride contract. Are there any questions or comments, or is there a motion on the consent agenda? Tap the button. You can leave it on then too, but just.
I
okay.
make a motion, we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Motion by Linda to accept. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Becky. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 5 is accounts payable. Authorizing the payment of the bills in the amount of $262,502.18. Go over the outlays. All right.
Advanced disposal services at $68,153.12. Kramer, Maltoff, and Hammes, $6,558. Hamilton School District, mobile home parking fees, the $4,315. Martin Community Fire Department, $4,635.24. Payout for Paul Pickler was $8,639. That was his yearly insurance. Verbecker was $13,268.50. Waukesha County Treasurer, which includes the fire services, at $262,502.18.
Thank you, Kathy.
No, I'm sorry, that's
Those-
the total. That was the total, I'm sorry. Trying to figure out where,
129,378.93 for Waukesha County.
thank you.
Got her. We nailed it. All right. Any questions or comments on the register? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the report dated 1/12/2021 through 1/21/21 for $262,502.18.
Motion by Mark to approve. Is there a second?
I second.
Motion. We'll give it to Doug. All right. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 7 is announcements and correspondence. So we have Winterfest 2021 on Saturday, this February 6th from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Lisbon Community Park. And we have the next town board meeting on Monday, February 8th at 6:30 at the town hall. Then the next plan commission meeting and joint public hearings will be Thursday, February 11th at 6:30 here at the Richard Young Fire Station. And the Parks Committee meeting will be Monday, February 15th at 6:30 p.m. at the Richard Young Fire Station. And when's your next sanitary district meeting? It'll be after the next one, so we got enough time also.
Take one pass down.
I think it's February 17th.
Okay. So about February 17th. Excellent. All right, any other announcements or correspondence to note? All right, item 8 is administrator report. Kathy?
So we closed the three 2020 grants that were used for elections as well as to make the town more accessible. We've had 72% of the taxes have been collected. We did the January 15th settlement. We finished the prelim audit and the treasurer is preparing for the February audit. We had some vandalism in the park on the ice rink, and our Parks Department has been fixing that. Our clerk has Badger Book training this week with our poll workers. Primary election is February 16th. Our absentees start going out tomorrow. We've had a couple complaints about residents plowing their driveways across the road. And I want to thank Joe for following up with the residents on that. We also had a couple of non-compliance complaints, such as moving and building berms, filling wetlands, parking commercial vehicles on residential properties. And our building inspector, Brian, has done a nice job following up with those issues. I've attached a draft non-compliance policy and procedure. My plan is to place it on the February 8th agenda. I just wanted to get it in front of you ahead of time for discussion, as well as an update of our fee schedule, just in case any citations were needed. The Sheriff's Department is working on that. Having a process in place will help build consistency. That is my report.
Any questions for Kathy? Thank you, Kathy. All right, item 9, supervisor reports. Does anyone have anything to report?
No, I don't. Not this month.
Anybody else? No. Item 10, Plan Commission recommendations. A, discussion and necessary action on ordinance 2021-01 related to the request by Mike Carrick, KKNN Lindale LLC, for the approval of amendment to the land use plan map for North 48 West 27368 Lindale Road, tax key LSBT 0268.999, from rural density and other agricultural land, other open lands to be preserved, and secondary environmental corridor to suburban 1 density, residential, and secondary environmental corridor. All right, so the Plan Commission did approve this. Does anyone have any questions on it?
We do have the planner on Zoom if you have any questions.
I have a question.
Okay.
At the planning commission, and when the people were talking and they were commenting on the access to the subdivisions in and out, and it's a county road, do we know that they're going to make the developer, like they usually do, put in all those turning lanes and things?
That's usually up to the county. I don't think they have not done a traffic impact analysis as of yet, I'm assuming.
You would know that better.
So the county would have access on JK, or what is that?
It's JK,
JK,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So I don't think we can answer that as of yet, but it is county controlled.
I'm guessing the county doesn't let those slide very often.
No,
They definitely make them put in those turning lanes and do those things. I'm pretty sure they're gonna. But that's my question.
have you had any input yet from the county, Rachel?
I'm aware that the applicants, they have been talking with county staff and running the concept plans by them. They have received some comments about where the location of their access point would be. And I believe they've modified their concept plan based on that feedback. I'm not sure at this point if they would require turn lanes or if the applicants have received any feedback about that. But certainly during the plat review, which the county will get a review on that, I believe that's where that conversation will play out a little more. We have the applicant's engineer present tonight as well, looks like.
Good evening. My name is Tony Zanin from Pinnacle Engineering Group. We haven't talked to the county about location. They haven't dictated any A-cell, D-cell lanes or bypass lanes as of yet. But I would say historically in a development this size, they will always require A-cell and D-cell lanes. So acceleration and deceleration into and out of the subdivision. That the bypass for, in this case, for eastbound traffic to bypass somebody turning left into the subdivision, that will be something they'll dictate to us upon further review of the subdivision.
Answer.
Yeah, and it wouldn't change what I'm thinking loud for it anyway. I'm just wondering if that was addressed.
In the actual plat of the subdivision hasn't been approved yet. This is just to change the zoning. This is, and this one, the zoning on the future land use map. Any other questions? Does anyone wish to make a motion on this item? We'd just be approving ordinance 2021-01.
I make the motion to approve ordinance 2021-01.
All right, is there a second to that?
Second.
Maybe Linda Beal, second by Mark Moonen. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item B is discussion and necessary action on the request by Mike Carrick, KKNN, Lindale LLC for approval of the rezoning of approximately 47 acres of land at North 48 West 27368 Lindale Road, tax key LSPT 0268.999 from A10 agricultural to R2 single family residential. This also was approved by the Plan Commission. Does anyone have any questions on this?
About how many lots will this be?
So that is in,
I can try, yeah.
if you don't mind, if you guys want to talk, if you want to step up to the podium, the microphone is right there. Just click it on. We have a few people on Zoom. I think so.
Is there anything on the digital screen? On the microphone, it's got a little bitty screen. Is it
If
on?
you just want to bring it up, we can, okay. Just state your name.
Hi, Mike Carrick, Carrick Holmes. Anyway, it'll be 31 lots here.
Okay, now I see it. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, is there a motion on this item? I'll move for the approval of the rezoning of approximately 47 acres of land in North 48 West 27368 Lindale Road, LSBT 0268.999 from A10 agricultural to R2 single family residential.
Second.
By Joe, second by Mark Moonen. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item C is discussion and necessary action on ordinance 2021-02 related to the request by Mike Carrick and Right Way Bus LLC for the approval of amendment to the land use plan map for unplatted lands located on County Line Road, tax key LSPT 0150.997 from rural density and other agricultural land and other open lands to be preserved to suburban 1 density residential. This also was approved by the Plan Commission unanimously, 6-0. Any questions or comments on this one? We'd be looking for a motion to approve ordinance 2021-02.
I make approval of ordinance 2021-02.
Moved by Linda Beal, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mark. Any final discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item D, discussion necessary action on the request by Mike Carrick and Right Way Bus LLC for the approval of the rezoning of approximately 42 acres of unplatted lands located on County Line Road, tax key LSPT 0150.997 from A10 agricultural and C1 conservancy to R2 single family residential. Sounding like a broken record, but this was also approved unanimously by the Plan Commission. Does anyone have any questions, comments? Does anyone have a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion that we approve the request by Mike Carrick, Right Way Bus LLC for approval of the rezoning of approximately 42 acres of unplatted lands located on County Line Road, LSBT 0150.997 from A10 agricultural and C1 conservancy to R2 single family residential.
All right, is there a second to that?
I second.
Second by Linda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you should. Thank you. All right. Item 11 is unfinished business. Discussion and necessary action on the 2021 through 2023 Baker Tilly contract. This item was tabled on 1/11/21.
So we went through this. Baker Tilly gave us another offer for a 2% contract, but then it reduces the number of free adjusting audit entries. So when I asked them why the increase was so different on the 3%, the first year they didn't make a change. Our current audit contract is $15,400 with 10 adjusting entries. The contract that was made on December 19th that was tabled had a 3% increase the first year with nothing, but then across the board, the 3% it was a little high, it was higher for the last 2 years to make up the 3% across the whole contract. All 3 years had 10 adjusting entries. They offered us a 2% increase each year on their January 18th engagement letter. That gave us 10 audit entries the first year and then 5 the next 2 years, 22 and 23. So fiscal budget impact for this year would either be, if you decide to go with a 2% engagement letter, there would be an increase of $400 in this year's budget. If you choose to go with the 3% December 19th, it would be no cost to this year's budget. So I have a suggested board action if you so choose.
Questions or comments?
What was the total of the 3 years on the December proposal?
My calculator. $44. I'm sorry, $48,400.
And then, I guess I'll leave it to staff to answer the question on how much what's the likelihood that we would need an entry to be made over 5 entries?
Right. Well, we might see a change in those 2 years. At first, when I was looking into it, I was pretty confident because our current treasurer has performed in other municipalities and given us 0 audit entries. I did find out later on that that our 2018 and 2019, we had 13 audit entries. So we were already paying over the 10 audit entries each year. So I think we're probably best to go with the 3%. I was hoping to negotiate, but I'm not sure if our treasurer is planning on staying through 2023. And if we have to bring somebody else new in, it might, in that interim for 23, it might make a difference in our audit entry numbers. So I would suggest we stay with the 3%.
That's the December number?
That's correct, December 19th. So it would make no change to our this year's budget, 2021 budget.
And I'm sorry if it was already stated, but what is a singular adjustment cost?
200?
For,
Say that,
Additional audit entries.
because we get 10 the first year and then 5 the second 2 years?
right, they reduced it by, they reduced it 1% across the board.
Right, well, so say we needed, in year 2, we needed 6 entries. What does that additional entry cost us?
It's about $200 an entry.
Okay. So just the math that I did is we have a wiggle room of 2 entries going from the December one to the January one. So I would also be in favor of staff's recommendation for the December.
Just trying to negotiate something down, and then when it came down to the time where I found out that the people that were here for years were getting 13 entries, thought, and a possible shift in staff by 2023, I think it's safer for the town.
If my math is correct, it's a difference of $350.
Buys a little insurance.
Yeah, because we'll end up,
Mhm.
if we make 6 entries each year, we're already broke what we would have had insurance for up to 10.
Mhm.
Any other questions or comments from the board? I agree with both Mark and Kathy. I think it'd be a good idea buying insurance just in case, especially if we may change, the treasurer position would change in the future, in the next couple of years. All right, does anyone wish to make a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2021 through 2023 Baker Tilly agreement contract originally dated for December 21st, 2020 for yearly audit services.
Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Linda Beal. Any final discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. New business, A, discussion necessary action regarding resolution 2021-03 of resolution providing for the sale of approximately $3,390,000 in taxable general obligation promissory notes, series 2021A. We have John from Ellers here tonight. Where's your name tag?
As I said, I have my name tag.
John from Ellers.
Yeah.
Okay, good evening, everybody. John from Ellers. And here tonight for authorization for the issuance of $3,390,000 of taxable general obligation notes, series 2021A. And the purpose for the financing is for the infrastructure that is going in tax incremental finance district number 1. So I'll walk through kind of everything on the next couple of pages. In your packet is the pre-sale report for this financing. But generally speaking, it includes the utility work that was done last year. It includes the road work and storm sewer work that you just received bids for that'll be going underway shortly. The main source of repayment for this would be tax incremental finance District 1 revenues. In the event that those revenues are not there, you'll need to budget other revenues to be able to support the debt. Most likely that would come from the general fund. And we've run a couple different scenarios for you in the sale day report here. The reason that this is taxable instead of tax exempt is because of the agreement that the town has with Wyckoff, the developer for the first developer in for the TID, hopefully the first of many. The development agreement guarantees tax payment or pilot payment in the event that the value that's listed, the minimum value that's listed in the agreement does not materialize, and it calls for that value to be there as of January 1st, 2021. And we know that as of right now, the building is not there yet. They won't start construction until this spring. So from that standpoint, you'll be executing that pilot payment going into next year. So that triggers what's called private activity test. And that test comes from the fine folks at the IRS in terms of helping make that determination if debt needs to be issued on a tax exempt or taxable basis. There's nothing wrong with issuing debt on a taxable basis. Municipalities do it all the time, really in exchange for a little bit higher interest rate. And I say a little bit, as we'll talk about, interest rates right now are extremely favorable. I was actually just in my car doing a bond sale here before coming in. for taxable debt for a community that has a very similar rating. The interest rate on that debt over a 10-year period was just over 1%. So interest rates right now are really good. The flip side, of course, is nobody's earning any money on the interest on the money you have in the bank. But from a municipality side, it's good to strike while the iron is hot. So that's a little bit of an overview of why it's taxable versus tax exempt. And we've been working with your bond counsel, which is Quarles and Brady, on helping to arrive to that determination here. The debt will be issued as general obligation debt. After this debt is issued, the town will be at approximately 14% of your debt limit, with just under $60 million worth of remaining general obligation capacity. So plenty of capacity for the town going forward. The debt will be issued for a term of 10 years. And that's primarily because we're a township. Township, we have limits in terms of what we can do from a term standpoint with debt. So the TIF district goes out longer than 10 years. The remaining life of the TIF district runs out through 2039. So this debt will be issued for a term of 10 years. The thought being, let's, again, with interest rates being where they are, let's lock up as much debt as we can over a 10-year period. Hopefully allow the TID to continue to materialize in terms of additional growth and development, and refinance what's left on that debt after a period of 10 years. There will be a call feature on this debt starting on 2029 or any date thereafter. So you would have the ability to call the debt, either prepay it or refinance it. It's hard to believe interest rates would go any lower, but if that's the case, you certainly could take advantage of that. Because we're issuing less than $10 million of debt, well, actually, because this is taxable debt, we don't have to worry about being bank qualified, so there's no concern there. As part of the debt issuance process, we will be going through a rating call with Moody's. The town currently has a AA3 rating. We will be going through and setting up that call with the rating agency. And as we get the official statement put together, us and staff will be going through that call together. In terms of the method of sale, what we're recommending is a competitive bond sale in the open market, or competitive note sale in the open market. This really is consistent with the last few sales that we've been a part of with the town. So I think the town historically, prior to us being involved with the town, has gone to Waukesha State Bank as well as other banks, local banks, for financing needs. I think back in 2014, as we started working with the town, one of the first things we did was refinance all of the debt that we could for interest rate savings and just to consolidate that debt. A few years ago, we did a note issue for a series of road projects that was also issued competitively. I can tell you again, the sales that we had today, we had 6 bids on one, 7 bids on another. So again, the market is good, particularly for municipalities that have credit ratings in the AA category, as the town does. So there's no reason why we would think to negotiate or pick one underwriter and work with that particular one. This is a good opportunity to go out and hopefully get lots and lots of bids. From a timing standpoint, in terms of the schedule, we're here this evening. We will be working on the official statement and getting that out right around Valentine's Day. And then going through the rating call about the same time. The sale, we'd be looking at February 22nd. So we would do the sale in the morning, usually around 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. And then I'll be at your town board meeting that night, hopefully telling you what great sale results we got. The estimated closing date would be March 17th. So that would be the date that you'd have funds available and wired to the town. So with that being said, in terms of the projects here, kind of how this breaks down, we've got about 1.2 million in utilities costs, sewer and water, that was done last year. There's about 1.478 million of road costs, engineering expense rolled in here as well. And then one item that we did include in this financing to kind of point out to you this evening is the water main extension my understanding is the town will be going to either bid out for or getting a change order through your existing contract on. In talking with the town engineer, they estimate that at just over 180,000. So it's 180,950. So we've included that in the financing, with the thought being, we can always include it and put it in the resolution. We can always, if you give us direction tonight to strip it out, it's easy to strip out. That's not a problem. But knowing that, it's coming, if we're going to borrow, let's borrow and get it done. If you do have extra funds left over, you can use them for really any public purpose project. You can, if you have other projects within the TID that are forthcoming, you can use that to pay for other projects within the TID. If you have other public purpose projects within the town, you can use it for that as well. So, you can give us direction on that, but we thought it's better to start with it in, take it out if we need to. From a pre-sale standpoint, what we included in the packet was two different cash flows. And I thought it was really important. So we did this for those who were on the board last year. Which feels like an eternity ago that I was in front of you talking about this infrastructure work that was shortly before the pandemic hit. We presented two cash flows as part of the financing there as well. One being just the development that is known in terms of the Casey's, in terms of Wyckoff, and what their minimum value guarantee is in the agreement. So if nothing else happened besides those two developments, what does the cash flow within TIF District Number 1 look like relative to what you're going out to borrow for? The second cash flow that's in the district or in the packet here shows that development that's known, plus an estimate for other future development from an industrial side coming into the district as well. So that's what we included in the packet. If Wyckoff was the only one that came to the table, along with Casey's, there would be a shortfall within the TIF district in terms of the annual debt service payment. That is shown kind of on the first big fold-out page in the pre-sale report, or first long page in the pre-sale report. That annual shortfall payment for the first 10 years would be about $70,000 a year, 75. Once we refinance what's left on this in year 10, that shortfall payment would jump to a little over $200,000 a year. Assuming that other development materializes within the TIF district and that district builds out, that shortfall payment goes away. And the district's able to close a few years early in 2034. So about 5 years earlier than its maximum life. So, the reality is this district is very new in its lifespan. I think it's gotten off to a slower start, but on the flip side, from a cost standpoint, some of the positives have been, when we presented this last year and we were talking about infrastructure financing last year, one of the big pieces to it was an on-site well, a fire suppression system. Those costs now have been taken care of in terms of, working with the village of Sussex on on water service to the TIF district. So that's, cost savings to the town, that's cost savings to the TIF district. And hopefully the benefit is you get that development, this district builds out, that corner in terms of, visibility really becomes something that the town can be very proud with. And we're able to close this district early and get, a nice bump in your TID out, equalized value. The last thing I'll mention, and I've kind of touched on it already, and then I'll be happy to answer any, questions that anybody has, is just where interest rates are right now. They're very low. They've really kind of bottomed out at the end of summer, came up a little bit around the election time, which is common, and then settled back down again after the election. Right now, the average for a AA rated 20-year bond is right around 2%, and we've been coming in lower than that. Like I said, we were at a little over 1.1% on the debt issuance that we had tonight. So, we'll see where interest rates remain over the next month, but on that day of sale, the underwriter will be bidding on two things. They'll be bidding on that interest rate by maturity. They'll also be bidding on the underwriter's discount, which is their fee for purchasing the debt. So more the reason for going out for competitive sale. So with that, happy to turn it back over and answer any questions.
Questions from the board?
So I think are your pages labeled like ours, page 9 and 10? Those are probably.
Yep, they are.
So you're projecting on page 9, that's the worst case scenario, is a 2.8 million shortfall?
Right. That would be if only, Casey's, which is valued a little over 1.1 million. And, the minimum value that's in the agreement for Wyckoff comes to fruition at approximately 5.4 million.
And then page 10 represents a positive after 6 years?
Yeah, so if you go back to page 7, you can see the development assumption. So you can see, Casey's, then we had additional, I should call that commercial development of about 1.5 million that was planned or spotted a few years down the road in the original project plan. And then last year when we had presented this, there were 3 different phased industrial buildings valued at approximately 7 million each that were contemplated at that time.
Any other questions? So one of the things that obviously we had talked about, I suppose, one of the things that had been discussed, obviously, when we were forming this TIF was how soon we could get development going. One of the major pitfalls has been nothing's moved. While there has been work on the site, Mount St. Lisbon hasn't moved yet, and there's no roads. So that all will change when Wyckoff goes in. And obviously, securing a deal with Sussex for water has been instrumental, because that's a huge savings just in the fire suppression system alone. And Kathy and I have been talking actually with Sussex about at first we had contemplated just running the water mains for the industrial side because Sussex was requiring a loop. Well, through some cooperation with Sussex, we believe we found a potential way to loop that water without having to go I don't know if it's 2 miles or what it is in front of the school district and everything. So we have some options there that are looking pretty good right now. So a lot of good things. Any other questions? Oh. Does anyone wish to make a motion on this item? Who wants to spend $3.39 million? I'll make the motion to approve resolution 2021-03, the resolution providing for sale of approximately $3,390,000 in taxable general obligation promissory notes, series 2021A. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mark. Any final discussion on it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, then item B then is discussion necessary action on setting a date to hold a special town meeting to approve resolution authorizing town board to issue general obligation refund bonds as recommended by others. So we'll have to have a meeting of the electorate to do this.
That's correct. So John can go ahead and explain what our savings would be if we refinance. our
Yeah,
current
as
bond.
part of, just our annual or ongoing work with the town, we're always looking at refinancing opportunities. The one that we've discussed with the town before is the 2016 state trust fund loan, which was used for the purchase of the Leeds property. State trust fund loans can be by and large refinanced at any time during the year. There's a small period of time at the end of the year where they lock out refinancings, but other than that, with 30 days notice, you can refinance that debt. So this would be a refunding bond, which towns need the approval of the electorate to be able to issue refunding bonds. So this would be a one-time resolution to be done at in a meeting of the electorate to give the town board the ability to issue refunding bonds, not only in this case, but just going forward. So that gives you the ability to issue debt and refinance that debt for longer than 10 years. So state trust fund loans go out longer than 10 years. This one does. In order to refinance this, you would have to adopt this resolution. So even if you choose not to go forward with this refinancing, this is a good resolution for the board to adopt to give future town boards the ability to issue refunding bonds if the opportunity arises. So with this particular debt issuance, like I said, this was issued in 2016. The interest rate savings in terms of kind of all-in savings that we're looking at. So this would just be a pure refinancing for savings. We wouldn't be changing the structure of the debt, the timing. We would just purely be refinancing for a better interest rate. The debt runs out through 2036. We estimate from a planning side savings of approximately $130,000 on the remaining life of that state trust fund loan. So really is a really good candidate from our perspective to refinance. Now, one thing to consider with this debt, being a state trust fund loan, one of the reasons that the town issued a state trust fund loan, besides the constraints that townships have in terms of issuing debt out of the gate, is because of the prepayment ability that state trust fund loans have. So I think the town board's vision at that time was, you didn't want to be holding on to that land for long. Here we are a couple of years, down the future, and we still are holding the land, but it gives the town the ability to, sell that land, take that land sale, and pay off, a portion or all of the state trust fund loan. If we refinance it with refunding bonds, we don't lose that ability, but we do lose it for a period of time. So like these notes that you just authorized, there would be a call feature with this debt issuance. And if you were to sell land before the call date, really what you'd be doing then is taking that land or that money, putting it in escrow. And if it's enough to pay the whole amount off at the call date, you would pay the whole dollar amount off. If it's only enough to pay a portion of it off, you could do a partial call on the debt at the call date. With interest rates, again, kind of being where they are and the fact that the land really hasn't sold to this point, I think the thought would be, consider moving ahead with this, refinancing for a lower interest rate. If nothing happens or you decide to incentivize the land, you're not getting any land sale, you're incentivizing it as part of a TIF agreement, great. But you still have, taken advantage of the current interest rate climate and, put the town in a better overall position. If you do decide to sell it, great, put it in escrow, use it when the call date hits, which would be about 7 years down the road from now, and either pay it off in part or in full. So any questions on that?
So if the board chooses to move forward on the sale or refinance, we could either call a special meeting of the town electors to approve, or we could wait till the annual meeting on April 20th.
Either one would be
Right.
totally fine.
What is our state trust fund at right now for percentage?
I believe it's around 3.5% or a little over 3.5%.
So if we went the alternate or the refunding bond route, is that gonna lower that projected rate?
Yep.
And is that locked?
Yeah, it would be locked in at the day of sale, just like these notes. On the day of sale, you'll have a bid form that'll have the interest rate that the underwriter is going to give the town for each maturity. So for each payment, each year, you'd have an interest rate that they would be locking in at.
What do you anticipate that to be?
We anticipate it to be a little bit below 2% overall.
So if we're gonna, it all depends what we do with the land, obviously. If we're anticipating selling a good portion of the land in the next few years, it's probably better to stick with the trust fund, what I'm assuming. But if we don't, then obviously this is the way to go.
Yeah, what I would say is even if you do sell, you still have that call feature coming out, 7, 8 years down the road. So if you sell in year 4, you still might be better off with the refinancing, knowing that you will hold it for, that money for a couple of years, but you're holding it at a much lower interest rate. The scale that we're seeing right now is, it varies anywhere between about 0.5% to 2% by maturity. So, it gives you that flexibility going forward, that if you don't sell or you incentivize, you've refinanced.
The money held in escrow could be used to accrue interest.
Yes.
Obviously, that's not a lot right now, but really nothing. Might be less than
0.1.
nothing.
Yeah.
What is the town's debt obligation on that state trust fund?
There's about little over 1.4 million remaining on it.
Would it hurt just to have it on the books that we could do it if we wanted to?
We could start the process. I mean, as far as that all goes, let's say we decide to start this process, but change our mind towards the end, what kind of, financially, what would it cost us to get this going?
If you start the process and you end up not going through it, sorry. From our end, there would be no cost. From some of the other players, like Bond Council, I'd have to check with them, but generally speaking, there'd be no cost from them too. Now, what we don't want you to do, it would be to actually take bids and then reject the bids because you think that you might be able to sell the land. You might reject the bids because you don't like the interest rates, or it's just, interest rates have spiked, or we'd probably, want to head you off at the pass if that was going to happen and delay the sale. But, if you were just to reject it because you felt that you could sell this land and didn't want to move forward and wanted that flexibility to pay it off whenever.
That wouldn't look good.
Yeah, what we don't want is to again, go through the sale, reject it, because from an underwriter's perspective, if you're rejecting it for no other reason in their mind besides you think you can sell this land, you might have a harder time when you go back into the market.
So how far into how long will we have to decide that if we let's say we have a meeting?
Yeah. Well,
in
so
April.
let's just say you run this through and you hold this at your annual meeting in April. And we set the sale, we could set the sale that evening or, at your next town board meeting after that. So you'd still have some time to be able to do that. Really at that time, you'd be authorizing it. And we have, a month period of time between the time that we authorize to the time that we actually go ahead with the sale. And in that time, we're putting together the official statement. What we would do with the rating agency is right now notify them that, there's a refunding coming, and we'd be most likely coming back for kind of a quick surveillance type call versus a full, rating call with them. So what we would ideally want would be that final direction before we do that call, because that would be the time where the rating agency would charge you. So,
So our annual meeting is on April 20th. Our following town board meeting is on the 26th. If you don't feel a sense of urgency, otherwise we could do it as early, do a special town meeting as early as March 8th.
So everybody's feeling. Becky,
I'd wait
wait till the 30th.
until the annual meeting.
Annual meeting. Mark?
I don't know, I guess, is there a projection? Because I was estimating about 14,000 a year.
there is, yes, there is a projection. It's anywhere between about 8 to 10, 12, 11,000 a year in terms of savings.
It's about 100 and,
About 130,000.
130.
And that's net of, the issuance expenses, et cetera. And ideally, what we'd be looking at is the day of sale again, getting, competitive bids, just like this note issue, and hopefully coming in better than that, but we have to see what happens to interest rates between now and, late spring, early summer.
Which could be a lot.
It's anybody's guess. If I knew, if I knew the answer to that, you'd see me on CNBC or whatever.
Right, we'll be talking. I guess my position would be either to stay with state or move to have a meeting as soon as possible in March. I know there are two ends of the spectrum, but I don't think it's wise to wait till the annual meeting in either scenario.
Capture the interest rate sooner. Linda?
In your professional opinion, what do you recommend for the town?
Well, if it's not too much trouble to do the special meeting, I'd move forward with it in March. Again, even if you don't decide to go forward with this, it's a good idea to have this resolution on file, because it's something like the sale we just did was for another township up near Green Bay. And they adopted their resolution in 2017. They had a series of debt obligations that they did with the bank, with state trust fund loan. We were able to lump all those together and refinance them for a TIF district through the remaining life of their TIF. We didn't have to go through any extra hoops at that time. We were able to strike and get it done as fast as we could.
Well, that's what I was asking before. Would there be an issue if we passed it? We don't have to do it if we decide against it, but I guess I agree with Mark. I think we should move forward. That's a lot of taxpayer money and we're responsible for, and I would take that seriously. And I would do it as soon as possible.
Okay.
I fully support what was said there. Get it strike when it's hot, right?
Okay. So we'd be looking to set this, how soon can we have it? March?
March 8th would give us enough notice time.
Is that the first board meeting?
Yes. Yes, that's our first board meeting in March.
Do you have to give 30-day notice, or why can't we even do it on the 22nd? Just curious, of February.
We have to post.
We have to do the notice.
Correct. I know, but isn't there enough time to do it by then or no?
I figured a 30-day notice was necessary for a
Okay.
special
Okay,
town
I
meeting,
gotcha.
not a 2-week.
All right, thank you.
But isn't this a class 2 though?
I'm not sure. I thought for a special board meeting or a special town meeting, we had to give 30 days.
I think it's 15 to 20 for this type.
Yeah, the sample resolution that Coral's provided is published as a class 2 notice, not more
then
than
it's
20 nor less than 15 days before the date of the special meeting.
So then if you make the decision today, you need a week's notice.
I mean, we could still keep it as the 8th, just, I mean, we'd have to
Wait.
post within that window.
So how long ahead are you publishing? This week
So
is
if
going.
they decide today, get it to the paper here, it would publish there and there,
So we
and we
have it-
could,
Yeah, right at the election day.
We could do it on the 22nd, but
we
we
could-
could not do it on the 8th.
We could do it on the 22nd of February.
Mhm.
It actually lands that we could do it on election day, but we'll pop it down to the next week to our regular board meeting, and that would be the 22nd of February,
Mhm.
if you want to do it as quickly as possible.
I do.
Is that the,
If we're gonna
Doug,
do
you
it, then I would do it as soon as possible.
Okay.
Mark, you like that?
Yeah, and I mean, that's the resolution. Are you guys gonna be able to do that?
Corals has already got the resolution ready for you. Are you good with that, Becky?
That's fine.
Who would like to make a motion to that effect? Or is there a motion needed?
I make a motion to set a date of February 22nd to hold a special town meeting to approve the resolution authorizing town board to issue general obligation refunding bonds as recommended by Ellers.
Belinda Beal, is there a second?
So moved.
Second by Mark. Any final discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Item C is discussion necessary action regarding alternate bid number 1 regarding stormwater pond liner materials as part of TID number 1 site development street expansion project.
All right, so we were ready to go forward on this, and Wondra spoke with Don about having this tabled. And so they're not sure about, they want to do some more soil tests before they commit to using clay as the liner. So they've asked us to table it tonight.
Okay.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Linda Beal. No discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item D, discussion necessary action regarding request by Frank Gross to extend the recording deadline for a 4-lot certified survey map and associated driveway easements for the property located at North 80 West 23792 Plainview Road, tax scale SPT 0187.998.009.
So I've included a request for consideration because the town has an ordinance that requires documents to be recorded within 6 months of their approval. And Mr. Gross's approval. I can't. And Mr. Gross's approval window will expire on January 27th. He has been in twice within the last month to drop off his paperwork, but 2 of the pages of his certified survey map are color copies. And so we went back and forth a few times, and he's going to obtain new copies of those 2 pages, but has to send them down to his wife in Florida to sign and then have her get them back. And there's not enough time between now and Wednesday for that. So his wife did send me an email requesting the extension. So if the board so chooses, I would request a motion to grant them a 90-day extension of their recording deadline.
Any questions from the board?
Is that 90-day by ordinance, or is that just what we think he needs?
I can't say he would need more than 90 days, but this has been going on for a year, so.
Right.
Can I ask what he's gonna do with the property?
No idea.
He just
Um,
divided.
If recollection serves me from reading older town board and plan commission minutes, I believe he's looking to sell 1 parcel, but I don't believe he has any immediate plans for that sale.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Does anyone wish to make a motion?
I make a motion that we authorize Frank Gross to extend recording deadline for a 4-lot certified survey map and associated driveway easements for the property located at North 80 West 23792 Plainview Road, LSBT 0187.998.009.
Motion's been made by Linda. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Becky. Do we want to denote the 90-day as part of the motion? Is the motion okay with that?
Yes.
Motion's okay with setting it at 90 days extension. Is the second okay with that?
Yes.
All right, motion and second are okay. Any other questions from the board? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item E, discussion necessary action regarding acting versus interim department heads, including the responsibilities, liabilities, and protections involved for each.
So at the last board meeting, you asked me to do some research and check on responsibilities and protections and how they pertain to an interim clerk. I did do some searching. I found about 12 municipalities that have had interim chief clerks in the last couple of years, and I didn't find one that had one written in their ordinance. I did find one that had it in their policy, what the difference between a acting or interim was. I took a look at the statutes to see if there was anything in the statute that specifically spelled out interim chief and what their duties were. I did not find anything, but I did find that the one section in Welsh versus Richmond Center that allowed the police and fire commission to appoint an interim fire chief. I gave you a paragraph down the from a policy and procedure manual from one of the cities, speaking about the appointment of personnel to a higher classification on a temporary basis in order to fill a vacancy. Is considered an acting appointment. We have the same language as an acting appointment in our draft handbook. But it doesn't really spell out specifically the difference between an acting and an interim. So this example was, I found was an acting is considered when an employee is filling a position due to an absence of a supervisor or manager. Such as if somebody goes on family leave and they're coming back. But an interim is when the position is vacant due to retirement, resignation, or separation. I also put in your packet my emails from Dan Valit that spoke to the interim. I was talking to him back and forth in December about the interim position, and he just felt that the fire commission just needed to state it, so then the candidate understood that it was a temporary position. After speaking with a couple of municipalities, they thought it was, what they did was, what they did, and they suggested that we do a letter to our interim fire chief, and that actually spells out the action that's being taken. And I did put together and I know I'm jumping to the next thing at the same time, but I did put together a draft letter that spells things out. So this first E is just this discussion on the interim, the actual acting interim language, to get that put in the manual to spell out the difference between the two. As if that was something that you felt clarification. One of the things I've learned throughout working with code and policy is if somebody can interpret it one way, that means it needs to be strengthened. And in our case, I think we need to strengthen this to make sure there's a true difference between an acting and an interim. Any thoughts on that?
In paragraph 4, on the second line, I have a issue with at which point you would assume your normal, oh, I'm sorry, never mind. I think it should be interim.
Putting this in the manual to distinguish.
Yes, absolutely. I like your wording that it should be acting and then interim. I like that.
Now, Supervisor Moonen, I know that you wanted to see if there was any concerns with protection and so on, and I think the letter might help us with that. But I did not find anybody that put it in an ordinance or in a policy manual specific to fire chief. I'm hoping the research is helpful too.
So just to clarify, this section would be added to our current handbook, not the draft.
Right, I've got to figure out which one is actual, but I do have a draft. I do have the draft that was the most current. We have to get it in front of you guys, so I can put it in the current one, but I'd also like to follow that through in the draft when I bring it forward.
Is, unfortunately, is current up to interpretation by
Just about everybody,
everyone?
yeah, differently, which is why we need the handbook solidified.
I mean, just date wise, I think some people have one current one and other people have another current one. But
Yes. And I hear different answers to different questions. This handbook is so important to get completed. Because the gray area between one department or one person and another, they see it differently because they have an old handbook.
Maybe they should be dated all the time.
Well, this is
And
not
that-
even
yeah.
our current staff, and this was like,
Yeah.
I mean, we've been working on a new handbook since 2011.
Oh, I know.
It's got, I mean,
So what we can do,
I think the point I'm making is some staff think one handbook is in play and another thing.
mhm. Now I could easily give everyone new handbooks as current, so then we're all looking at the same handbook until
Mhm.
we get a new handbook replaced. I could definitely do that and clean that up.
Or we can make a motion to enter it into the last 2 handbooks.
and turn into all iterations. of handbooks that already exist in-
Uh,
I would make the motion
Second it?
to, I'm sorry, I was seconded? Yeah, you made the motion?
For the last 2, I was serious when I said
That was a motion?
that. That's a motion,
Okay. The last 2 handbooks?
correct.
I'll second. I would even go as far as just to say whatever handbooks our administrator deems they need to be put in.
Mhm.
The motion
I think there's
agrees.
more than just 2 last ones out there.
I think there's a whole bunch of these things out there.
I mean, I've been on a committee for almost a year and a half with department heads a year ago, and we met every other week and we had stacks and stacks of all
I guess-
different
Yeah, but that
drafts.
wasn't
and
actually done
yeah.
yet,
So-
but-
But they
What-
were,
I guess, so there's, I guess the motion I'm making I know there's multiple versions, but what I'm saying is there was one that was approved, then there was one that might have been approved but had not been approved.
A
Those-
draft.
Should you minute to add to any and all applicable
Um,
handbooks that are currently in existence?
Yeah, motion approved, or motion agrees.
can I just maybe, should we put the language in there too about the difference between acting and interim in the definition of the fire chief in chapter 34 in the ordinance that creates the fire chief position?
That's what affects the fire and police commission then.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, what? They would have to approve that?
No, that's what governs them.
They get a copy of that
handbook-
ordinance.
Right, the handbook wouldn't necessarily affect the Fire and Police Commission, correct? It would only be the ordinance.
Just chapter 34.
Because from what I've researched too a little bit, is just exactly what Kathy said. The acting is only a person that's filling in when there is still a chief that's maybe under investigation, or he's out on sick leave or whatever, and he still holds the position. An interim is when the position's vacant.
Mhm.
But maybe it should be in chapter 34 in that fire chief
Mhm.
thing.
Do we need a separate item agenda to address chapter 34, or could we do it here?
I think we can do it here.
Excuse me.
I guess my
Chapter 34 is an ordinance.
only
No,
question would be
we
is,
have to-
we don't need police and fire commission for chapter or section 5.
No.
I would not, I don't think my motion would stand for the fire section.
I think we'll keep it as just the manual at this point. And then we'll have to bring back because it's an ordinance, it needs to have a separate.
Okay.
Agenda
As
item.
Mark's motion
Yep.
stands. Without
Clarify that motion?
Yep, so,
Please.
thank you. I'll make a motion to accept as written in the request for consideration, the designation for acting versus interim to be applied to any and all current applicable employee handbooks for the town of Lisbon,
as deemed by the administrator.
as deemed by the administrator.
Thank you.
Taking the witness.
I think it's in the final one.
And I second that.
Got it, thank you.
Sounded good.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, so the next item was the letter that I was speaking about. And Linda, you said you had a question on it?
Yes, I do. In paragraph 4, the second line, it says duties at any time at which point you would assume the normal responsibilities of deputy fire chief. I think that should read, at which point you may assume or have the right to assume your normal responsibilities. Instead of just assuming.
Can you repeat that part?
Sure. It should be after, at which point you would, you may assume. Or we could put in, or at the same time, you would have the right to assume. Either one of those or both of those. I just think there's something lacking there.
So you think that would makes the assumption that the board or the fire commission would be automatically putting her back into her position without her?
Well, she needs to,
abilities?
yeah, I would think that that person needs to say, yes, I want to do it, or she may say, no, I don't, the timing isn't right, something's going to be changed. So I think that's why you have the right to do it.
I think the paragraph, and I'm not arguing it, I just want to make sure you understand why it was written that way, was just to make sure that the board, when the fire commission
Mhm.
terminates the interim duties, then she reverts back to the duties she had.
Exactly, but in
And
this
so-
letter, it's just saying that you will assume it no matter what.
Okay,
I myself thinking they have the right to assume it. I
Or
mean, they have
choice.
to, they might say, nope, I don't want to do it. And then all of a sudden, well, wait a minute now, it says here, you assume.
how about
Or you could put at
You-
which point you may assume.
choose
Chief
to
Gregor's
assume?
here right
Yeah.
now. We could just ask her.
Yes, what would you like?
I'm assuming she'd want to go back to the
Well,
normal
yeah.
responsibility.
Oh,
I think the word would in there like that kind of guarantees her that she's got her place reserved for her to go back.
uh-huh,
There's
And
no indentured servitude here.
yeah.
it makes it so that she's got that place to go back to.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm just thinking of the what ifs. I'm trying to think of both sides of the coin. But if you're comfortable with this, I'm fine with it.
I think it's a protection for her as an employee that her, like Supervisor Brown said, it guarantees that her position's not
Well, sure.
filled and unavailable should she not want to, or
Well,
the
sure.
town endeavors not to have her as the interim
Well,
anymore.
it still gives her the right to do it, and she has the right to assume. You know, either way, it's a right.
I mean, she could assume it, quit it
Yeah,
immediately
Yeah.
following.
yeah,
She's not going to, as we'll find her,
yeah.
but this isn't gonna be an issue anyway.
Yeah, no, okay, if you're comfortable, I'm fine. Mhm, okay.
So does this letter help with the concerns?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, I was fine on the last one.
Becky?
I think it should be left the way it is.
Okay,
That's good.
Yep.
Is there a motion on,
Do we have to,
I don't think you needed an emotion, I just wanted you to review it.
okay, review?
Thank you.
All right, item 13 is a closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 1925, parent 1, parent G, for the purpose of confirming legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body. I have that on, but with the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved, more specifically regarding the Wagner case and pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 1925, parent E, for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, investing public funds, or conducting other specified public business, whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require closed session, more specifically regarding revised letter of intent for Brian Builders. Is there a motion to go into closed session on both of these items? And our attorney will be present by phone.
I make a motion. We're going to close session to discuss these items.
Beal makes the motion. Is there a second?
so moved as a second?
Mark Moon in the second. Roll call vote. Please.
Supervisor Brown,
Yes.
Chairman Osterman,
Yes.
Supervisor Beal,
Yes.
Supervisor Monin,
Yes.
Supervisor Klotecker.
Yes.
All right, then
You always last.
5-0 in favor of going into closed
Might as well
session
be
at
out in the parking lot.
7:58.
Oh, it's hot.